All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. All praise to the Most High. All right. Hey, can y'all brothers hear me?
Con.
Khan. All praises. All right. Hey, so Salakia, we're gonna give it some time for people to trickle in. Please like, subscribe, and share this tonight's lesson. All right. This is Warzone Wednesday from YAHAWAH'S camp. All right. All praise to the Most High. To the 12 tribes as well, scattered abroad. Definitely want to give y'all brothers that's doing this work a mighty shalom, and of course shalom first and foremost to the Most High and his son Yahawashi. Of course shalom to the brothers of Yahawah's camp, the elders, the priests of Yahawah's camp. Shalom. I know brothers is on the road, brothers is out and about, taking care of some things, going to the Hebrew Israelite Summit over in Tampa, Florida. All right, shalom to Bella B. All right, and of course, shalom to the brothers on stage. All right, again, this is Yahawah's camp. All right, we are finishing up Saturday's lesson from last Saturday. If you were with us last Saturday, you know we were going into the grafting in. And we were going into Romans 11. All right. So we were going into Romans 11. All right. So just note that Romans 11 about being grafted in, just to kind of give a quick synopsis, really started in Romans 8. All right. And if you have a chance, please go back and watch the video, as we gave a full and thorough breakdown, an extensive breakdown on who Romans 11 is talking about. And we see that starting in Romans, the 8th chapter, on who is the audience that Paul was writing to. All right. And who were the people that Paul was trying to get the message across to. All right. So we went into certain details as far as what a church is, or a synagogue, who the people that were giving sacrifices to, who were called saints, who was called the elect, so forth and so forth. All right. Yeah, definitely go back and watch that. It's probably our latest video from last Saturday. Again, that was all right. And for the sake of the audience, we wanted to split this up into two different videos. All right. So just note that we were trying to be respectful to the viewers' time, and so essentially we decided to split this lesson up into two different parts through the spirit of Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi. All right. Again, as we get started, we definitely want to encourage brothers to sisters to like this channel, like the video, share it to your family, friends, loved ones as well. All right. And of course, give me 1 second real quick. I'm going to take care of something, and I'll be back in like 2 seconds. Salakia. All right. Con. All right. So I got a couple brothers on the stage with me. All right. We got brother Shalak, and of course the brother Aniel. All right. Shalom to y'all brothers. If y'all are able to speak, please come off the mic, introduce yourselves, give a shalom. And I know these brothers are busy, but through the spirit, they decided to come on and help a brother out. All right. The water to y'all brothers as well, man. Shalom.
Hey, shalom, Cap.
Hey, Shalom Israel, it's your brother on the hill.
All right, con. All praises. A couple of brothers that's coming up in this truth, man. Hey, the water to y'all brothers that's doing this work. All right, teaching and reading and doing things like that. So all praises to the Most High. Without further ado, all right, we want to get into the finishing out on Romans 11. All right, we want to finish out Romans 11. All right. So real quick, I just definitely want to touch base. So we stopped at Romans 10. All right. Is any of y'all brothers able to read?
Yeah, I'll get you some precepts, Cap.
Come. Give me the book of Romans chapter 10 and give me verse 20, King.
Con.
Romans 10 and 20. So what I want to do real quick is I want to kind of touch up on where we left off as we move into Romans the 11th chapter. All right. Romans the 11th chapter. For some of y'all that are watching, you may not be familiar with this information. What we teach at YAHAWAH'S camp, all right, is that the grafting in is for the Israelites, the 12 tribes. All right. The grafting in, all right, I'm going to say it again, is for the 12 tribes. All right. Now, what that means is you have, of course, you had Southern Kingdom, Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. All right. And then you also have the Northern Kingdom, which consists of, depending how you look at it, 9 to 10 tribes. All right. The reason why I say 9 to 10 tribes, of course, the tribe of Joseph is split into Ephraim and Manasseh, which gives you 10 tribes. Of course, but of course, if you're looking at it from a more of a macroscopic lens, it's 9 tribes, right? 9 plus 3 is 12. And bear with me as I'm got a little bit of a raspy voice today. But okay, so let's get into it. All right, give me Romans chapter 10, verse 20. All right.
Con. This is the book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 20.
Uh-huh.
But Isaiah is very bold, and saith, I was found of them that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that asked me not after me.
You see that? So it says, and who was Esaias, right? Which is Isaiah. So Isaiah is very bold and saith, I was found of them that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that asked not after me. Okay, so one thing we got to understand is during this time, whether we go into Isaiah or whether we go into the time of the Romans, you had a southern kingdom that was steadfast when it came to this truth, right? When it comes to, staying fit with the Most High, doing the law, statutes, and commandments. All right, being steadfast on, which is of course keeping these commandments, keeping these laws. And then you had a whole another northern kingdom that was into idolatry. All right, idolatry was one of the biggest things that the northern kingdom went into that alienated them from the Most High. And again, if you go back, I highly recommend, if you want to go into Romans 11, you got to go and watch the old videos that we just did from a week ago. And it shows you how the elect were the southern kingdom, northern kingdom, right? The brothers that's in those different tribes were considered the elect. And then you had a remnant, right, that was supposed to get their salvation. All right, let me say that again. I want to make sure I say this clean, right? So what we're saying is you had a southern kingdom, northern kingdom, okay? Southern kingdom and northern kingdom, whether they were in the truth or not, okay? Whether they were understanding Christ or not, southern kingdom was keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments, okay? The northern kingdom as a whole, holistically, went the hell off. That's what the book of Hosea is about, right? And that's when you get in some of these scriptures when you go into Ezekiel. And we're going to break that down as clean as possible through the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, so it says, I was found of them that sought me not. Okay, so who are these people that we're talking about? Read to verse 21, King.
Con. Verse 21. But to Israel he saith, all day long I have stretched forth my hands unto a disobedient and gainsaying people.
All right, so let's stop right there. So now let's go back to where we find this information at. Who is Esaias? What are we talking about? Right? What are we talking about? Who are we talking about? So let's go all the way back to 1 Kings, the 19th chapter. All right, let's go to 1 Kings 19 and give me verse 10. All right, because we got to understand Salaki, you know what? No. Read the verse read chapter 11, verse 1, and then we're going to get 1 Kings 19.
Chapter 11, verse 1.
Yes, sir.
Con. 1 Kings 11 and 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women.
No, Salakia. Romans. I'm sorry. My bad. Romans 11 and 1.
Salakia.
Oh, you good. All right. You good. My bad.
Con.
And
Romans
Aniel, are you able right now to read? If not, I want to get this also in Isaiah 64. All right. So Salakia, King Shalak. Let me get Isaiah. I'm going to read Isaiah 64 real quick because we only got a few readers on stage. All right. This is Isaiah 64, verse number 9. It says, Be not wroth very sore, O Lord, neither remember iniquity forever. Behold, see, we beseech thee, we are all thy people. Thy holy cities are a wilderness. Zion is a wilderness. Jerusalem a desolation. And if you understand what's going on, all right, the southern kingdom was destroyed, right? The southern kingdom, whether it was the gates, the wilderness, whether it was the gates, the temple, homes, people were all destroyed by the Babylonians. It says, Be not wroth very sore, O Lord, neither remember iniquity forever, meaning to forgive, right? To forgive what the children of Israel, and specifically what the southern kingdom was into. It says, Behold, see, we beseech thee, we are all thy people. Talking about Israelites. Thy holy cities are a wilderness. Zion is a wilderness. Jerusalem a desolation. Our holy and our beautiful house, where our fathers praise thee, is burned up with fire, and all our pleasant things are laid waste. Wilt thou refrain thyself for these things, O Lord? That's a question, right? Wilt thou hold thy peace and afflict us very sore? Now I want everybody to pay attention to Isaiah 65 and 1. I am sought of them that ask not for me. I am found of them that sought me not. I said, Behold, Salakia, behold me unto a nation that was not called by thy name. Okay, so when we go into this information, I just want people to really understand that, like we established last week. All right, chapters are something that we see later on as this Bible is being compiled, as this Bible is being furthered, right, more advanced. During this time, these were all letters, these were all prophecies, these were all what you would call scrolls, right? So we're reading the scroll of Isaiah, and it's starting from chapter 64, verse 9, and then it just kind of continues on to chapter 65. Okay, chapter 65 picks up from chapter 64, verse 12. All right. When you read on, verse 2, Isaiah 65 and 2 says, I have spread out my hands all the day unto a rebellious people, which walketh in a way that was not good after their own thoughts. And our people were into that, right? This is why we said, when it goes into the greatest transgression that a nation can commit is what you would say is idolatry. Turning away from the Most High is what alienated the northern kingdom. And we see what happened, right? They went into Assyrian captivity. And then what happened? They were no longer called a people. Go back and watch last week's video, and we explain how the northern kingdom was no longer called a people. All right, so it says, where we at? Verse 3, a people that provoke me to anger continually to my face, that sacrificeth in gardens and burneth incense upon altars of brick. That's idolatry. Okay, which remain among the graves and lodge in the mountains, which eat swine's flesh, and broth of abominable things is in their vessels. I just want to stop right there, right? So understand that when we go back to Romans 10 and 20 and 21, all right, it says, but Esaias is very bold and saith, I was fond of them that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that asked not after me. But to Israel, Okay. And one of the things that we wanted to establish going into Isaiah 11, the 11th chapter, is that the subject matter from Romans 8, Romans 9, and Romans 10 is talking about the nation of Israel. Okay. The nation of Israel is who this is talking about. All right. So then it says in Romans 10 and 21, but to Israel, he said, all day long I have stretched forth my hands unto a Salaki, where I lost my place. Unto a disobedient and gainsaying people. All right. Now let's go to Romans 11 and let's start at verse 1.
Con, this is the book of Romans 11 and 1.
Uh-huh.
I say then, hath God cast away his people?
Now that's a question. That's a question. Paul is saying in Romans 11 chapter, have God cast away his people? Who is his people? Well, we just read Romans 8, Romans 9, Romans 10, and going into Romans 11, God's people is the nation of Israel. Okay? Read on, King.
Con, for I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
Come on.
God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew.
You see that? So it's saying that the people that God foreknew from the beginning were the Israelites once the Israelites became a nation. Right? You'll get some of these Christians, they'll ask about Abraham, they'll ask about Adam, Seth, people that were before the nation of Israel. All right. But once Israel became a nation, okay, Khan, I got you, King. Once Israel became a nation, that was it. God's people was the nation of Israel. So the answer is God forbid. God has not cast away his people. So we're again, the subject that we're talking about tonight is who was being grafted in from what we just established right now. The people that we're talking about are the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? The 12 tribes of Israel. Read on.
Con, God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. What ye not what the scriptures say of Elijah, how the
Of
market
who?
Elijah,
Of Elijah, right? Read.
how he maketh intercession to
Elijah made intercession. Come on.
Yahweh against Israel, saying,
Hold up.
Lord,
Stop right there. Hold up. Let's stop right there. All right. So remember, okay, so let me ask brothers on here, right? Who was Elijah a prophet to? To what kingdom? Southern kingdom or the northern kingdom? Do brothers know? All right.
Uh,
Okay, cool. That's good.
uh,
This is why we're going to teach this. All right. So Elijah, all right, let's Elijah was the prophet to the northern kingdom. Okay. He was under King Ahab, who was a northern kingdom Israelite. Jezebel were northern, they were all a part of the northern kingdom. All right. Now we can get 1 Kings 19. Let's get 1 Kings 19 and 10. Now, this is important because if we're talking about who's being grafted in, well, why is Paul bringing up a northern kingdom prophet? And he's going to explain it. All right.
I got you, King.
Let's get 1 Kings chapter 19, verse number 10. Salakia, what do I want? Yeah, let's get verse number 9. Let's get 9.
Khan,
chapter verse
it's
9. Go ahead.
Khan. This is the book of First Kings, chapter 19, verse 9. And he came thither unto a cave, and lodged there. And behold, the word of the Most High came to him. And he said unto him, What dost thou here, Elijah?
Right. Read on.
Verse 10. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, I have been very jealous for the Most High of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thy altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword.
So understand that Elijah is saying, I'm jealous of the Lord of hosts for the children of Israel. First of all, they've forsaken the covenants. Now at this time, the southern kingdom was around, right? But we're talking about a northern kingdom situation, right? The First Kings 19, we're looking at northern kingdom scenarios, situations. Then it says that they slain thy prophets. That's very important. Prophets were dying at the hands of King Ahab and Jezebel, right? You had prophets that were dying. This is important. All right, read on, King.
Salaki, Khan.
Mm-hmm.
And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take
Read
it away.
on. Read on.
Verse 11. And he said, Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Most High. And behold, the Most High passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains, and brake in pieces the rocks before the Most High.
Come on.
But the Most High was not in the wind, and after the wind an earthquake, but the Most High was not in the earthquake.
Read on.
Verse 12.
Uh-huh.
And, af- and after the earthquake, a fire, but the Most High was not in the fire.
Come on.
And after the fire, a still small voice.
Read on.
Verse 13. And it was so, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle, and went out, and stood in the entering in of the cave.
So now Elijah is standing in the entering of the cave. Okay, come on.
And behold, there came a voice unto him, and said, What dost thou here, Elijah?
Come on.
Verse 14. And he said, I have been very jealous for the Most High, God of hosts, because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant,
It says
thrown
the
down thy
children of Israel forsaken the covenant. Again, northern kingdom is who he's talking about. Right? Now did southern kingdom go off? Of course. But was Elijah prophesying to the southern kingdom? Was he a prophet to the southern kingdom? No. He was a prophet to the northern kingdom, which is very important on why we are in First Kings 19 in the first place. Paul brought us here in Romans 11 and 2, right? Paul brought us here from Romans the 11th chapter in the second verse. He brought up Elijah. So we had to go back to First Kings 19 to get the context on what was going on in the northern kingdom and why we're talking about a northern kingdom people anyway. Finish that out, King.
God. Because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thy altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away.
To take it away, right? And when we read down, let's get verse 18, same chapter.
Verse 18.
Uh-huh.
Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which have not kissed him.
So Elijah is saying he has 7,000 prophets, right? That did not bow down to Baal or Baal, right? Meaning they were still steadfast. They were still keeping the commandments of God. So did all of the northern kingdom go off? Not all of them, right? Only a select few stayed steadfast, right? Okay, Khan, I got you. I got your message, Shalat. Khan. All right. So the northern kingdom prophets that Elijah was saving, right? They were still steadfast. They still kept the commandments of God. They didn't commit themselves to the whoredom, which is called idolatry, which is very important on what we're reading. So I just want to make that statement, and I want to go back, right, and get the information that Paul was leading us to. So, Aniel, can you go back to Romans 11 and let's go back to verse number 2?
Con. All right, I got a game.
And as you're doing that, yeah. So definitely with the brother Lewis, shalom to the brother Lewis. He said the churches is teaching now that it's not fleshly Israel, it's spiritual Israel, and we're going to get into that. And that's a heavy point, King, because when you understand what the church is teaching something called replacement theology. All right, and what is replacement theology is when the church replaces the nation of Israel with spiritual Israel, or the nation of Israel as just God's people, and that's not the case, right? When we're going to break this down, we're going to come into a couple contradictions with replacement theology. And when you read this Bible just with an open slate, an open mind, you're going to realize that this book is only for the nation of Israel. Now there are some things that do pertain to the other nations, but ultimately this book is for our people only, for the 12 tribes. All right, we'll get into that most high willing. So Aniel, go ahead and let's get that Romans 11:2 one more time, King.
Con. This is the book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 2.
Uh-huh.
The Most High have not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Wot ye not what the scripture saith of Elias, how he maketh intercession unto the Most High against Israel, saying,
Uh-huh.
verse 3, Father, they have killed thy prophets and
Uh-huh.
digged down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life.
You see that? So Paul is telling you right here what Elijah was saying, right? That that the people, right, the higher ups, the nation of Israel, the northern kingdom specifically, were killing the prophets. And 7,000 remained out of all the prophets. Right? Read on.
Con, verse 4. But what saith the answer of the Most High unto him? I have reserved to
He says
myself.
what?
He said, but what saith the answer of the Most High unto him?
And then he says what?
I have reserved to myself 7,000 men.
So who are these 7,000 men in Romans the 11th chapter and the 4th verse that we're talking about? Right? Why is Paul bringing up 7,000? Because we just established that there was a remnant that was saved in the northern kingdom. That's very important. 7,000 prophets were saved that should have died. It was nothing that they did. It was just that they were happened to be the elect. Again, if you go back and rewatch last Saturday's lesson, we talk about the elect. We talked about the chosen, right? The what we would say is the people that were, I guess you could say 1/3. We talked about all of that. So we're seeing an example that Paul is saying, where Elijah was saying that 7,000 men were able to keep their lives and they did not bow the knee to the image of Baal. And it's funny how we see the word reserved. All right. Let's continue on, King. And look that and look, First Kings chapter 19, what we just read, verse 10 through 14, that is an example of the elect. I want everybody to understand what Paul is illustrating, right? That those 7,000 men were elected to stay alive. Everybody was being killed. You know, that was 7,000 that remained. How many more were dead that were killed? Probably thousands more before them, but only 7,000 remain. All right. And again, the subject is grafting in. All right. I just want to make sure we understand what we're talking about. All right. Let's get verse 5.
Con, verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
Even so then, at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
Now, again, the word remnant and reserved. So let's read verse 4 and verse 5 again. Let's read it smoothly. And then let's see if this makes sense to 1 Kings 19, verse 10 through 14.
Con, this is the book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 4. But what saith the answer of the Most High unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Verse 5, even so then, at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
You see that? So Paul is saying that just like there was an election, there was a remnant during the time of the Northern Kingdom prophet Elijah and the 7,000 men that he saved, there's a remnant according to the election of grace. All right. Who are the elect? Who are the elect? Isaiah 45:4. I want to just reestablish this scripture right here to understand who the elect is. All right. It says, even so then at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. All right. Who is the elect? Let's get Isaiah 45:4. And go ahead and bring it out when you got it, King.
God, I got it. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 4. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my elect, I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me.
You see that? So the elect is Israel. Again, we're in the 5th verse and we're still talking about Israelites. Okay? We're in the 5th verse and the subject matter, who we're talking about, is the nation of Israel. All right, so let's go back to Romans 11. All right, verse number 6. And we're just going to make this as smooth as possible. We don't want to see when you talk to, as we're getting into this, because the understanding is, like the brother Lewis said, you have a spiritual Israel, and what Christians have the flexibility of doing is they're able to change their doctrine on a dime, right? They can call themselves Gentiles until it's time to call themselves spiritual Israelites. And then when it's no longer Israel, then they can call themselves Gentiles. It's like a chameleon. They can switch those colors whenever they want. That this, it's like trying to catch smoke or something like that, right? They can't sit still. They can't sit on a specific understanding. They change it when it's convenient to them. They change the nationality when it's convenient to them, right? Then they want to change the doctrine when it's convenient to them. God doesn't hate until God does hate. Then yeah, God hates. The law's done away with until we talk about some things that the law condemns that they all disagree with. Then it's like, yeah, the law still, yeah, we got to honor our father and mother. Like the brother said, scripture ADHD, right? Scripture ADHD. They all over the place. They can't stay on one spot and allow us to scrutinize their understanding because it's not a real doctrine, right? It's just what they feel at that time. All right. So let's get that. Romans 11:6. So look at verse 5. It says that the remnant was elected by grace. It was nothing that they did. It was by grace. Get verse 6, King.
God. Romans chapter 11, verse 6. And if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace.
You see that? So if it was all based on works, then you wouldn't even need grace in the first place. Because this is based off works. You think, again, we only got a count of 7,000 prophets that stayed. The problem is there was thousands and thousands of more prophets that didn't get in, and they were keeping commandments. They were doing the works, right? They were doing the works, and they never had a chance to stay alive because it was by election and by grace. So, and this goes into 2024. It was nothing that myself, Brother Shalak, or Aniel did for us to get this truth. It was by the election of grace. We talk about it all the time. Brothers came in this truth. You didn't broke Shabbat after Shabbat after Shabbat. You didn't broke new moon. You didn't do atonement, right? Some brothers came in their 20s. Brothers came in their 30s and their 40s. So you need that grace period to cover all the wickedness and madness that you've had from the beginning. So you have to have grace. This is what Paul is teaching right here. All right. It was not by works, but it was by grace that they were saved. Now, a Christian will come by and they'll eisegete this scripture right here and say, we're not saved by grace. I mean, we're not saved by works, but by grace. Then they built this whole doctrine. Well, we can't keep the commandments because it's all about grace. So now this gives me a license to sin. And if I can sin, I don't got to keep the laws anymore. Then you guys crucified Christ irresponsibly. They want to get on the doctrine. Right? The problem is they don't understand that this is talking about people thousands of years ago that was saved by grace and not by works. We're talking about those 7,000 prophets that Elijah saved, but they were still keeping the commandments to even get the grace. Right? Think about that. They were still keeping the commandments. Remember, they were saved because they did not kiss Baal or worship another god. Right? So let's read on. I don't want to get too wrapped up on that Christian madness, but it don't make sense. All right. And you brothers and sisters that's coming in this thing, or you've been in this thing, or hey, listen, don't get hung up, right? Always stay diligent in this truth. Always stay diligent in what is required of you. Because a lot of us can easily be sifted out if you allow yourself to go into these heresies and these false doctrines. All right, let's get that. Let's get verse. Where we at? Finish verse 6, King.
Con. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work.
You see that? So it's saying that if it's all on works, then what do you even need grace for? And remember, Paul was writing his letters to the uncircumcised, to the uncircumcision, that was still coming in this truth, that was still learning the ways of the commandments, the converts. Peter went to the circumcision. Paul went to who? The uncircumcision. That's us. Right? That's everybody that's on this panel right here, and y'all in the audience, and y'all that's watching.
Con.
We had to be converted into this thing. And it was not by works, because if it was by works, I don't qualify. Shalak don't qualify. Aniel don't qualify. But we were elected by what? By grace, not by works. It makes sense?
Con.
Come. Let's get verse 7.
Con. Verse 7.
Uh-huh.
What then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded.
And it said the rest were blinded. Aniel, give me Baruch 4, right? This is one of my favorite scriptures we want to go into in Baruch chapter 4, because it says, what then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. Who are the rest? We talked about this last week. If you're trying to get this information to certain Israelites, sometimes they don't get it for a reason. The Most High shut their eyes. He shut their ears to where they don't get it. It's cold, right? It's a cold game. It's a cold game that we live in, man. And even YAHAWAH'S said in Matthew 24:24 that the very elect will be deceived. Not all Israel is going to get it. Not your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle, pastor, cousin. You would think, right? When I came in this truth, just a quick side note, when I came in this truth, I was quick to tell people that was near and dear to me because I thought if I get it and it makes sense to me, everybody will get it. Everybody's going to understand the truth of the Bible. I think we lost a brother Aniel, right? That's what I thought. And then over time, you realize that the Most High is only dealing with the elect. Right? We got a few brothers hopping on stage. Shalom King.
Hey, Salaki, I dropped for a second.
No, you good. You good.
We still at Baruch?
Yeah, look. So the brother Daniel Allah Ben Yahawah, the Shalom King, he says, let me put this message up there. He says, I feel guilty that I get it, but not the rest of my people. I feel unworthy. I be asking sometime why me? And we're going to give you the answer, right? Give me Baruch chapter 4, verse number 4.
Khan. There's the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 4.
Uh-huh.
O Israel, happy are we.
It says, happy are we, right? The Hebrew word for happy is asher. Now, when you go into the word asher, you get two different definitions. You get happy, like, I'm happy, but then you also get the word blessed, depending on the context. So understand that when we read Baruch 4 and 4, it says, oh, Israel, happy are we. Blessed or happy, however you want to, mix it up. It's still good news. This is the gospel that we're talking about. This is the gospel, right? Read on, King.
Khan. O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to God are made known unto us.
So the things that please the Most High God is made known to us. Who gave you this information? Well, of course you heard the information, but what makes you different from someone else that hears it and they disregard it is election. Right? This is what we're talking about right here is what it means to be grafted in. This is what it means when you're grafted in, right? You're elected to get this information. Now, what you gonna do with it? Right? I'm gonna read it again. It says, "O Israel, happy are we for things that are pleasing to God." What pleases God? Anybody can answer that. What pleases God?
Following the commandments.
Following the commandments. Right? And when you go into Baruch chapter 4, that's what it's talking about. The commandments. Right? I'm reading these messages. I'm reading these comments right here. Right? There you go. Lewis got it right. Keeping the commandments. That's what pleases God. Keeping these laws, obedience. There you go, Bella B, right? Obedience, keeping the commandments. Right? What does Samuel say to Saul? Obedience is better than sacrifice. Right? Hey, it's okay, brother, right? Let me post this, right? He says, but I count other brothers more worthy than me. So it's like, why did I get elected and not the others? I don't know. Well, again, the Most High did it. The Most High elected you. So it's not necessarily how we feel. We just got to, again, happy are we for the things that are pleasing to God are made known to us. This scripture right here would get you through depression. Baruch 4 and 4 can get you through depression, right? Because when you realize life ain't so bad, at least I get this information and I'm applying it to my life. At least I understand it and I'm diligent in what I need to be doing. You got money problems and you see brothers, riding around with that nice car. Understand that you actually have the gift because you have the election. You have that free gift, which is grace. There you go, right? He hit the biggest lottery. For once, I'm a winner. That's right. That's right. Now, the understanding that we have to have is now we must do this for the rest of our life. We got to endure this to the end because we get it. Everybody else, they don't get it. This is what it means to be the elect. And ultimately, this is how you get grafted back in. All right. Where we at, Aniel? Let's get verse 7.
Baruch 4.
Salakia, Romans 11 and 7.
Con. This is the book of Romans 11 to 7. What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded.
You see, and the rest were blinded. All right. Your mother, your father, they're blinded. All right. Read on.
According as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, unto this day.
Unto this day, right? Let's find these scriptures real quick. Let's get Deuteronomy 29 and 4.
Con. This is the book of Deuteronomy 29, verse 4. Yet the,
Come,
yet the Lord hath not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day.
come. You see that? So what we're talking about, right? Matter of fact, let's get verse number, let's start at 1. So again, Deuteronomy 29, we just got done going into what? Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28, well, really Deuteronomy 26, all the way through Deuteronomy 28, you see the covenant being established. Okay, now we get to chapter 29. Let's get verse 1.
Deuteronomy 29 and 1. These are the words of the covenant, which the Lord commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, besides the covenant which he made with them in Horeb.
Come on.
Verse 2. And Moses called unto Israel, and said,
Unto who? Read it again.
and Moses called unto Israel,
Wait. It says all Israel.
all Israel,
So that's important, right? Again, we're talking about all Israelites, all 12 tribes, right? He says, and Moses called unto all Israel. Read on.
and said unto them, Ye have seen all that the Lord did before your eyes in the land of Egypt unto Pharaoh, and unto all his servants, and unto all his land.
Come on.
The great temptations which thine eyes have seen, the signs, and those great miracles.
And those great miracles, ironically enough, now if the grafting in is about all nations getting salvation, what are those great miracles that God did to Pharaoh? The plagues, right?
Con.
Those plagues were miracles for us. The miracles for us were the plagues for the heathen. So if we're talking about getting grafted in, and the Moabites, the Egyptians, Hamites, they get grafted in, then we got a problem, because it sounds like we're boasting about these other nations getting destroyed, specifically the nation of Egypt being destroyed through play. Actually, I would even call it torture. Right? What the Most High did to Egypt was torture them, and then we had a scenario where they ended up, being destroyed, and then we got our Exodus. But it was a slow death. It was a torture. 10 plagues, lice, right? Frogs, famine. All these different things. That's torture. So again, if we're talking about all nations getting some sort of chance to get grafted in, then think about why is Paul bringing up the torture of the other nations? All right, let's finish that out.
Salakia, what verse was that?
Deuteronomy 29 and let's get verse 3.
Con. This book of Deuteronomy, chapter 29, verse 3. The great temptations which thine eyes have seen, the signs, and those great miracles.
Come on.
Verse 4. Yet the Most High have not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear, unto this day.
So let's stop right there. So that's what Paul's going into when you go to Romans 11, verse 8, right? It says, God have given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day. Who was he giving the spirit of slumber to? These other not these other nations, the Israelites that don't get it. Right? The children of Israel that don't get it, that's what he's talking about.
Con.
All right. How many times have we had this conversation with our uncles? Can't eat pork, unc. Right? Hey, you tell your mother and father, hey, no Christmas. They're not listening. They got eyes that they don't see and ears that they don't hear. Unto this day. That's why we say what? Happy are we, for the things that are pleasing to God are made known to us. God gave you eyes to see and ears to hear. All right, let's get verse 9.
Con. Verse 9. Keep therefore the words of this covenant, and do them.
Salaki, my bad. Romans 11 and 9. My bad.
Salakia. Con's book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 9. And David saith, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them.
Come on.
Verse 10, let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back away.
You see that? So even King David, right, was literally in these Psalms, he's making a song about these Israelites not getting it. Right? Let their table be made a snare and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. It's talking about Israelites still not getting it. That's why when you go out there and teach and they don't get it, they keep walking. We're seeing prophecy right here. We're seeing women and men walk right past the men of the Lord, and it's almost like they don't see you and they don't hear you. Why? Because God shut their eyes and their ears that they don't get it because they're not the elect. This is all based on the election. It's our job to go out there and seal the elect. Right? Even when you go into Revelation 11, right? It tells you who the elect are. It's going to be 12,000 from each tribe. I'm sorry. Romans, I'm sorry. I said Romans. Revelation is 7 and 4, not 11, 7. I'm going to just bring it out real quick because I'm already here. Revelation 7 and 4 says, and I heard the number of them which were sealed. This is the elect. And there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Okay? So the elect that we're talking about, when they don't get it, you can't even be mad. You can't even be mad. You're not going to make someone be obedient to God. God has to open their eyes and their ears for them to see and for them to hear, which is heavy, right? Again, oh Israel, happy are we, for the things that are pleasing to God are made known to us. You may have a brother that don't get it, and you may get it. A blood brother, he may not get it. Same mother, same father, same household, but he don't get it because it's not for him. We know brothers whose wives don't get it, but he get it. We know sisters whose husbands don't get it, but she get it. All right. Let's move on. Let's get Romans 11. Where we at? Okay, now here's what I want to get to, right? Romans 11:11. So before we read Romans 11:11, what we've established from last Shabbat, last Saturday, Romans 8, verse 26, all the way to Romans 11 and 10, the content and the subject and the people we're talking about is who? Israel. Okay? Somewhere along the way, your Christian pastor is going to make the verse we're about to read talking about everybody. And it don't make sense. Even to the point where we talked about Elijah and the 7,000 prophets. You see how Paul was specific about Northern Kingdom as the context or the subject matter going into Romans 11:11. We're talking about Northern Kingdom Israelites that went the hell off for various reasons. And now we're getting to Romans 11:11 and how they're going to be grafted back in because of the idolatry and the wickedness that they were going into. That is why Paul went and referenced Elijah. He didn't reference Elijah just because it was something to do. He referenced Elijah because we're literally talking about Southern Kingdom and Northern Kingdom Israelites being grafted back in and taking hold of the promises and the covenants and the giving of the law. Right? Referencing Romans 9 and verse 4. All right, so let's get Romans 11:11. Read what you got.
Con. This is book of Romans chapter 11, verse 11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall?
So who
God
is this?
forbid.
Who is the they? When Christians come at you with this, Romans 11:11, right? And they want to say all nations can get salvation and yada yada yada. Then they say, have they stumbled that they should fall? Who was the they? Right? Us, the Israelites. Salakia King, read it again.
Verse 11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall?
That's a
God forbid.
question, right? That's a question. Have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, right? Come on.
God forbid. But rather through their fall salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy.
Now this is heavy, right? The Gentiles were to provoke the southern kingdom to jealousy, right? That's heavy. Now God is not using a Moabite to provoke the Israelites into jealousy, right? He's not using the Ishmaelite to make them jealous. That would make the curses for no reason. That would make the transatlantic slave trade for no effect. You're telling me that a Moabite can disobey God, never be in the covenant of God, and God is saying, I want to make my chosen people jealous, so I'm going to graft in the Moabite. And they never worshiped God in the beginning. Every nation had their own God. God gave us him. Yahweh gave us him. All right, he's the God of Israel. So to sit here and say, well, because the Moabite or the Edomite, whatever, right? God's going to make us jealous because he's going to graft them in. No, he's talking about the northern kingdom Israelite. And it was prophesied from the time of Deuteronomy. Let's get Deuteronomy. What do I want? Deuteronomy 32 and 21. Let's get Deuteronomy 32 and verse number 21.
Con.
Read it when you got it, King.
Con, I got it.
Go ahead and
All right,
bring it up.
this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
They have moved me to jealousy, which that with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people.
And again, if you go back to Hosea, right? Hosea, the second chapter, the last verse, right, says the same thing, that the northern kingdom was not called a people, right? Lo Rumah and Lo Ami means I will no longer have mercy on you, and you will no longer be called a people. We did a whole breakdown on that. So the full understanding on Romans 11, verse 11. Let's read it again. Through their jealousy, Salaki, through their fall, salvation has come to the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy, right? When you think about stumbling and falling, right? Stumble is when you kind of trip up a little bit, right? You ever trip up on that rock or something like that? You stumble and you catch your feet and you keep going. When you fall, that's it, right? When you fall, you on the ground. Right? So that's a good question, right? The brother said, why will we be jealous of the heathen? Look, again, the things that are made known to the things that please God are made known to us. Happy are we. These other nations never knew how to serve God. That's why you can get the same breakdown from Esau, from Moab, Ammon, whoever, and it's hogwash, right? It's terrible. It's a terrible breakdown. But when the men of the Lord bring this word out, now it makes sense. All right, where we at, King?
Deuteronomy 21. I mean, sorry, Slakia, 32 and 21.
Let's go right back, right? So the ones that made the southern kingdom jealous was the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom being grafted back in made the southern kingdom jealous. And Yahawashi gives a parable about that. We're going to get into that, right? All right, so we read 11, right? Let's get verse 12.
Con. This is the book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 12. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness?
How much more than full? But it says the fall of them. Hey, where were we at? Where were we supposed to be? Were we supposed to be on the top or the bottom?
Top.
In the eyes of the Lord, the top, right? Let's get Deuteronomy 7 and 6. Let's get Deuteronomy 7 and 6. And this is how you know we're still talking about Israelites. It says the fall of them. During the time of Rome, there was another nation that was above us, right? Esau. All these other nations was above us. So they can't, I mean, like, we already fell. Right? The northern kingdom, southern kingdom already fell. As a matter of fact, the northern kingdom was already no longer called a nation. They were no longer called a people. Right? The southern kingdom already fell. So we were supposed to be on the top. Let's get Deuteronomy 7 and 6.
Con. This book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6.
Come on.
For thou art a holy people unto the Most High thy God. The Most High thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
So the Israelites were above all people, and God chose us to be above all people. So of course we fell, right? If you're on the top, you're gonna fall when you go off. That's just how it works, right? You at a low state, you fell down, you stumbled, you fell down. And unfortunately, that's what happened to our own forefathers, right? Because of idolatry, right? Because of certain characteristics, we fell. Okay. I got another reader on stage. If not, Anio, go ahead and get Luke 15 and 11. Let's get Luke chapter 15, verse 11. Let's get this parable on the prodigal son and the true meaning on the prodigal son.
I
Let's
got
get
you.
Luke 15. Give me verse 11.
Luke 15 and 11. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger one of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substances with riotous living.
You see that? So this younger son went out and started doing all this riotous living, spending his money, tricking his money out, right? Come on.
And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land.
So think about this. He spent all his money and then the famine came. What does that mean? You out of luck. You spend all your money and then there's a famine that came. What are you going to do, right? You out of your money. Come on.
And he began to be in want.
Uh-huh.
And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country.
And that represents actually joining yourselves to the other nations. Hey, look, the Northern Kingdom, right? Again, if you get a chance, go back and check out the lesson we did about Samaritanism and all the things that they were into that was wicked as hell. Okay, he said he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country. Come on.
Khan. And Slakia. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine.
To feed swine, right? And a lot of our Northern Kingdom brothers was doing that, right? Teaching other nations the priestly duties in the Northern Kingdom. All right, come on.
And he would have fain his filled with belly, with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him.
Uh-huh.
And when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare? I will perish with hunger.
Read verse 18. Listen, watch this.
Khan, verse 18.
Uh-huh.
I will arise and go to my father and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee.
So now we're looking at the process of what we would call redemption. Repentance, redemption. You must first confess your sins on you as you come being grafted back in to the Father. Did everybody get that?
Khan.
I will go back to the Father. All right, come on.
And am no more worthy to be called thy son.
And that goes back into no longer being called a nation. Come on.
Make me as one of thy hired servants.
And so he's saying, I'd rather be a slave in my father's house as opposed to a son, an heir. Come on.
And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him.
Now we're looking at what it means to be grafted back in. Everybody get this parable, right? You had 2 sons, not a whole bunch of sons. 2 sons, Northern Kingdom, and the southern kingdom. Southern kingdom, they stayed steadfast with the Father. The northern kingdom went off and did all types of wickedness, all types of abomination, all types of wickedness, and worshiped other idols and all that. And when he confessed his sin and decided to come back into the Father, then his Father grafted him back in. Come on.
And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe,
He
and
said, bring forth the best robe. Come on.
put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet,
Mm-hmm.
and bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry.
Come on.
For this my son was dead, and is alive again.
He said he was dead and is alive again. Think about that. Dead in his sins. All right. And now he's alive again. This is what it means when we talk about the valley of dry bones. Ezekiel 37, right? We were dead as well, right? Let's just be honest. Us on this stage, we was all dead, and now we're being brought back alive. So we also would be grafted back in. This is what it means to be grafted back in. All right, these other nations, they this is not what it's not talking about the other nations being able to come in and partake in the full covenants of the Israelite. All right, read on, King.
He was lost and is found, and they began to be merry.
Now, let's stop right there. I just want to stop right there. All right, let me let Yahshua in. All right. Now, understand this, right? We got to understand what is really being said. You had the older son that was living life, spent all his money, and he had to come back. And what did his father do? Did his father ridicule him? Did his father chastise him? Did his father degrade him? No. His father grafted him back in, opened him up with welcome arms, and allowed him to come back. But it wasn't until the oldest or the son, the younger son, it wasn't until he acknowledged his transgression and he was miserable at his lowest point, and then his father grafted him back. All right. This is why it's important for us to understand these precepts. Because if I'm just reading this, if I'm letting Pastor Johnson, right, bring this out, Pastor Johnson is going to butcher this whole understanding, the parable, even down to Paul's letter. All right, we're going to come right back to that. Let's go back to Romans 11.
Con.
All right, let's get Romans 11 again. Where we at? Verse number 11. Read that part again.
Con. This is the book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 11.
Uh-huh.
I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid.
Mm-hmm.
But rather through their fall, salvation has come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy.
Now, again, we've discussed Gentiles before, but if you haven't heard it, a nation, Gentile just means nation. All right. Gentile is the same as stranger. It's the same as uh, uh, nation, whatever you want to call it, right? But to understand the word Gentile, you need context and you need precepts. So if you're going to make this word Gentile mean other nations, you got to give me context that says this chapter is talking about another nation, and you got to give us precepts. Show me in the prophets, minor or major prophets, that said that the other nations are going to be co-heirs with the Israelite. Show me in this context that we're reading, right? Where This is talking about another nation. See, the Christians, and you Christians out there, y'all see Gentiles and make them non-Israelites. Well, Salakia, the Christians will say Gentiles and say non-Jews, not knowing that a Jew is an Israelite. All Jews are Israelites, but not all Israelites are Jews. So when we're talking to the Christians, right, and they see the word Gentiles, they just hop on that and say, "Oh yeah, it's a non-Jewish person." Given the context, it could be a Jew, it could be a Northern Kingdom, or it could be another nation. You got to have context. You got to have precepts to back up your claim that Romans 11:11 is talking about the other nations, a non-Israelite. Right? Our stance is very concrete. Romans 11:11 is talking about either a Hellenized Jew or it's and slash or Northern Kingdom Israelites. That's what we're saying. Because of the context, it tells us that, and because of the prophets that we've been going through, whether it was Hosea, whether it was Isaiah, and even whether it was First Kings, we see the same thing. And even Christ, in his parable about the prodigal son, he's telling you about the Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom, and how the Northern Kingdom went the hell off, and the Southern Kingdom, represented by the older brother in Christ's parable in Luke the 15th chapter, was jealous because the younger brother went off and was able to come back in and was grafted back in by his father without any recompense. Right? And the brother had a good point. He says, now this makes sense. The Negro only Israelites still hating on Northern Kingdom. They still to this day angry that they can come back. That's heavy, right? Let me post that up, right? Imagine, well, I mean, if you think about it though, if you're a Southern Kingdom brother, you've been doing everything right. You kind of want some kind of, acknowledgement that you've been doing the right thing for so long. That's why Deuteronomy 32:21 says, I'm a what? I'm a provoke them to jealousy. Right? The Southern Kingdom was going to get jealous because the Northern Kingdom went off and was not able to receive. But if you think about it, what they've been through as Northern Kingdom Israelites is a punishment in its own. You were without the Father for centuries and centuries and centuries. You was cut off from being a nation. At least the Southern Kingdom was able to still have the Father, have a temple, and have all the things that came with it. But you Southern Kingdom brothers don't get too high on your horse because y'all went the hell off too. We ain't gonna talk about that, right? All right, where we at, Aniel? Romans 11 and verse number 12.
Con. Verse 12. Now if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness?
Come on.
Verse 13. For I speak to you Gentiles,
He said, I'm
inasmuch
speaking to you nations. But who was we talking about? Paul is talking to the Northern Kingdom. For I speak to you Gentiles. Right? Come on.
For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles. I magnify my office.
And again, we said that Paul went to the uncircumcision. So that includes Southern Kingdom that were Hellenized. That include all the Northern Kingdom that was off as hell by this time period, right? Come on.
Verse 14. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them.
Okay, so let's stop right there. Let's take a breather, right? I want to bring this precept out real quick. Anybody still holding that Luke 15? Aniel, can you let's go ahead and get that real quick. Get Luke 15 And let's get 25. And as you're getting that, I'm going to read Proverbs 21 and 16. It says, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. So the northern kingdom, right, went out the way of understanding. They broke the covenants, they broke the laws, they broke the commandments and the statutes, the judgments and everything that came with it. They broke that. They're going to remain in the congregation of the dead, meaning they're going to remain amongst the other nations. The other nations are what you would call the congregation of the dead. And that's why in that prodigal son parable, he said in Luke 15 and 15, Luke 15:15, and he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine, and he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. Right? What he's saying right here is that he was joining himself with the congregation of the dead. Right? Swine is not a good thing. When we talk about swine, we're not talking about a good thing, right? That's a death sentence, especially when you talk about the Most High. All right. So again, that's Proverbs 21:16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. If you leave these laws, statutes, and commandments, you're going to remain in the congregation of the dead. That's very clean. All right. All right. So where we at? Let's get Luke 15 and 25.
Con. This is the book of Luke, chapter 15, verse 25. Now his elder son was in the field, and as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing.
Uh-huh.
Verse 26, and he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. Verse 27, and he said unto him, thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he had received him safe and sound. Verse 28,
Mm-hmm.
he was angry and would not go in. Therefore came his father out and entreated him.
You see that he was angry. He was jealous. And that's a natural human response. Right? You ever be in a group project and you do all the work and the guy next to you didn't do anything and y'all get the same grade? You kind of salty, like, yo, I did all this work. I put the pieces together. Right? I did all the research. All he did was put his name on it. That's a natural human response, right? So that jealousy that Southern Kingdom got, or that his brother got, is a natural response. That's the jealousy that we're talking about. I will provoke them to jealousy with a nation that is not a nation. All right, to get 29 and 30.
Verse 29,
Mm-hmm.
and he answering said to his father, lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment, and yet thou never gavest me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends. Verse 30,
Uh-huh.
but as soon as this thy son was come, which had devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf.
Yeah. So he's salty, right? Southern Kingdom, he was salty, like, yo, I've been doing everything right. But did the Southern Kingdom do everything right? Right? Did the Southern Kingdom do what was required throughout his time? No. Or he wouldn't have been in subjecting in the first place. Okay? That's right. Right. So Hannah said, right? That's a father's love for his children despite sibling rivalry, right? And if you get children, man, brothers got children, you know how it is. You're gonna have compassion on your child if they're truly remorseful. And that's why the Most High calls us what? His children, and he's the father. Okay, so where we at? Let's go back to Romans 11. Let's get verse 14.
Gone. It's the book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them.
Let's stop right there, right? So like get 15.
Verse 15. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be, but life from the dead?
Come on.
Verse 16. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump also is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches.
So are the branches, all praises. So who is the first fruit, right? Who is the first fruit? But real quick, before we go back, let's go read verse 15 one more time. And I'm going to read, anybody able to read real quick? Because I want to get this in Jeremiah 30.
You need Jeremiah 30.
Give me Jeremiah 30 and 18, King.
Hey, Salakia. Hey, Shalom, find me how about Shemi out Shabakathon. Y'all can
Hey,
read it
Shalom.
if you, I can read if you need me to read too, Cap.
Come. Shalom, King. Come. All praises.
I got that if you need it now, Cap.
Yeah, let's get Jeremiah 30 and give me verse number 18.
Con. Jeremiah 30 and 18. Thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tents, and have mercy on the dwelling places. And the city shall be builded upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof.
Come on.
And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of them that make merry, and I will multiply them. And they shall not be few. I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small.
Come on.
Their children also shall be as foretime, and their congregation shall be established before me. And I will punish all that oppress them.
Let's stop right there. He said, I will punish all that oppress them. According to 1 Maccabees 2 and 10, all nations had us in subjection at one time or another. At one time or the Moabites, the Ammonites, Esau, right? Ishmael, all these other nations had us in subjection, right? Now we understand that. Then how is the grafting in for the other nations? Read on.
Con. And their nobles shall be of themselves, and their governor shall proceed from the midst of them. And I will cause him to draw near, and he shall approach unto me. For who is this that engaged his heart to approach unto me, saith the Lord?
Come on.
And ye shall be my people, and I will be your God.
And we talking about being grafted back in again, right? He said, you will be my people, and I will be your power. I will be your God. Read on.
Behold, the whirlwind of the Lord goeth forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind. And it shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. The fierce anger of the Lord shall not return until he have done it, and until he have performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days ye shall consider it.
And that's very clear, right? In the latter days, we're going to consider all these things. All these nations are going to have to get what's coming to them. They're not getting grafted back in. They was never in the first place. They were never a part of the crew in the first place. So how are they gonna get grafted back in? Right? Reconciliation is a compound word. Reconcile, right? Meaning we were once with the Most High, and then now we have to be brought back to the Most High. When were the other when was Moab with the Most High? I keep picking on Moab the last 2 weeks, right? When were the other nations with the Most High? You don't see that, all right? So let's finish this thing on out. Where we at about an hour and 30. All right, let's finish this on out. Let's get Romans 11 and 16. It says, "For the first fruits be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches." All right, let's get the first fruits. Let's get Jeremiah 2 and 3. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 3. All
Con.
right. Israel is holy. Israel is the first fruits. All right. That's where we're all at, right? Let's get that.
I got you, Cap.
Go ahead.
Jeremiah 2 and 3.
Uh-huh.
Israel was holiness unto the Lord.
It said what?
Israel was holiness unto the Lord.
Come on.
And the first fruits of his increase. All that devour him shall offend. Evil shall come upon them, saith the Lord.
Said the Most High God, right? So Israel are these first fruits. Now we went through, again, Romans 8, Romans 9, Romans 10, Romans 11. We got to Romans 11:11. We made sense of that with the precepts and the context, right? We used the precepts and the context to establish that Romans 11 and 11, Romans 11 and 12, and Romans 11 and 13, we're talking about Israelites. We're now in Romans 16, and it said, "For if the first fruits be holy, the lump is also holy." Shalak, read that one more time, Jeremiah 2 and 3.
Jeremiah 2 and 3. Israel was holiness unto the Lord.
So Israel was always holy. Come on.
And the first fruits of his increase.
And the
All,
first fruits of the Most High's increase was who? The nation of Israel. Come on.
all that devour him shall offend. Evil
And every nation that devoured the Israelites shall offend. You offended the Most High by touching the apple of his eye. The apple of his eye is the Israelite. Again, what nation have not had us in captivity? So the first fruits is not talking about the other nations. The first fruits is not talking about, or the holy nation is not these other nations, the Gentiles, or you would say non-Israelites. Finish that out, King.
and all that devour him shall offend.
And you
Evil,
offended the Most High. Come on.
evil shall come upon them, saith the Lord.
And evil's going to come, not you getting grafted back in. You don't get to disrespect the nation of Israel and then you just believe and you get grafted back in. Like the brother Daniel Allah said earlier, you can't change your nation, right? When we get the kingdom, Esau can't say, "I feel like I'm now from the tribe of Judah." Esau would do that, right? Esau is so crafty, he'll try to sneak in. Esau may even try to give himself a tan, right? I feel like I'm from the tribe of Judah today. Can I get in with you? Can I be a Judite? That's how Esau get down, right? That's how these other nations act. They want to be y'all so bad. They want to be us so bad. And then what ends up happening is they find themselves in a situation where they're imposters. That's why you got a lot of culture vultures today. It's all spiritual. They want to rap like you. They want to dance like you. They want to cook and sing like you. Right? Like the brother said, I'm a spiritual Chinese. You look at them crazy. That's right. I can't be a spiritual, Portuguese or Dutch. That don't even make sense. You can't change your DNA. You can't change your phenotype. You can't change your nation. Everybody want to be a nigga, but don't nobody want to be a nigga. That's one of the realest lines I ever heard, bro. Until it's time to be a nigga, then they don't want to be a nigga no more. It ain't easy being a nigga, bro. It ain't easy to be us, man. You last hired, first fired. You gotta, when you driving home, the police ride past you, you feel like that was a good day, like Ice Cube said. All right. That's heavy. Where we at? Romans 11 and 17. Whoever got it can bring it out. And then Yashawan, can you get me Jeremiah 11 and 16, King?
Salakia. All right, Romans chapter 11, verse 17. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree.
So now we getting into the olive tree. Right now we getting into this olive tree. All right, let's get that. Jeremiah 11, verse 16.
This is Jeremiah 11 and 16. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit. With the noise of a great tumult, he hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken.
Okay, so let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. It said the Most High called us a green olive tree. The context is Israel. You get that in verse 3, right? Jeremiah 11 and 3 is talking about the Israelites. And he's saying that the Israelites are a green olive tree and of a goodly fruit. With the noise of a great tumult, fire came upon it. Now, fire is used to kill. Fire is used to destroy things, right? And the branches of it are broken. When you go through that trial by fire, right? Come to find out, a lot of our people couldn't stay in that fire long enough and they were broken. And these were branches that were broken off. These branches were broken off. Read verse 17.
It says, For the Lord of hosts that planted thee have pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves, to provoke me to anger, and offering incense unto Baal.
Now we started tonight's lesson with the understanding that when you worship other gods as a nation, the Most High is through with you. I'm gonna explain it to you like this. If you've been in a relationship before, and most of us have, if you find out that your significant other is going behind your back, texting this person, seeing this person, right, dealing with this person, you'd be devastated, right? You'll be devastated. As a matter of fact, in the eyes of the law, if a woman commits adultery, that's a death sentence, right? If a man is going to hell off, that's a death sentence. A man committing adultery, that's death. Okay? So the Most High is equating us literally worshiping other gods as literally being in a relationship with another deity. And as a result, he cuts you off. That's what he's supposed to do, right? We are made in the image of our Father. So the same emotions and the response we have, he has. So when you going through life and you find out that person's not who they say they are, remember the Most High looked at us the same way, right? That's why he called us what? An adulterous generation, whoremongers. All these things Like you said, spiritual adultery. You worshiping Baal, it's like you making love to another deity. You're giving your love to another deity. And the Most High called us his beloved. We're married to the Most High. Didn't Yahawah said, he said what? Prepare you the wedding. All right? So when we think about these things, we got to understand how the Most High and why the Most High cut us off. So to be grafted back in, that's the reconciliation process. We get back together, right? And it feels good when you get back together. All right? So that was it on there, right? That green olive tree. And who was the green olive tree? The children of Israel, right? And the house of Israel and the house of Judah, pertaining to Jeremiah 11, 16, and 17. All right, and there's more scriptures on that, but for the sake of time, we want to get through that part. Now let's get Romans 11 and 17.
Khan, that was the branches. You still want that?
Come on, let's get those branches. Come on.
Praise. This book of Romans chapter 11, verse 17. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree,
It said a wild olive tree. To be a wild olive tree, that means no one has curated it, no one has cultivated it, no one has provided the husbandry, cut the weeds, clip the ends, right? Watered it, all the things that goes into taking care of that tree. Now it becomes a wild olive tree. It becomes feral. Okay, read on.
Khan, being a wild olive tree, were graft in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree.
Come on.
Verse 18. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the
So what Paul is saying right here is some of y'all brothers, right, that were the olive tree that was not wild. Do not boast against the wild olive tree. Okay? You had the southern kingdom that kind of was like, like pompous or had their nose stuck up against the northern kingdom or even to the uncircumcised. The circumcision had their nose turned up against the uncircumcision, for lack of better terms. Whether it's northern kingdom, southern kingdom, the uncircumcision was looked at as less than against against the circumcision. So it says, boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Right? Read on.
Khan, verse 19. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Verse 20. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off.
Because of what?
Because of unbelief they were broken off.
Uh-huh.
And thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear.
And you see that? A lot of us are high-minded, and we just came in this thing. How the hell are we high-minded and we just came into the truth? We still getting this information. We still asking the Most High for grace and mercy, and we high-minded. That's right. The brother said we was acting like hoes. One of my favorite scriptures is, I think it's Titus 3. Let me get it real quick. Titus 3 and 5. Or is it Titus 3 and 3? Let me see real quick. This is Titus chapter 3, verse 3. For we ourselves also were sometimes foolish, disobedient, deceived, serving diverse lusts and pleasures, living in malice and envy, hateful and hating one another. That was us at one time or another. Probably to this day, still have that same spirit. And then we want to boast against the wild branches. Who do we think we are? Who do you think you are? You just came in this thing. You can be out by next year. We seen them coming, we seen them go. Any one of us can be gone by next year. Back in the world. Okay? So we don't have to have time to boast. Now is the time for us to give that same grace and mercy that we ask from the Father. We ask the Father to give us grace and mercy. Now we must also do what? Extend that same grace and extend that same mercy. YAHAWAH'S said what? Forgive us of our transgressions as we forgive what? Those that have transgressed against us.
Con.
That's what it means to not boast. All right? A lot of boasters, right? So verse 18, read it again.
This book of Romans chapter 11, verse 18. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
Come on.
Verse 19. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Verse 20. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear.
But it says, don't be cocky. Stay in fear. Come on.
Verse 21.
Uh-huh.
For if God spare not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee.
And just the same way that the Most High did not spare the natural branches, the same way that the Most High killed righteous Israelites that was doing the work. Look at the apostles. How did they die? They all had horrible deaths. Disciples all had horrible deaths. Right? Our own captain, was it 2 years ago? Horrible death. Right? The Most High has a way for all of us to go out. So we don't have time to be high-minded on the little bit of knowledge we learned in the last 4, 5, 6 years. We still got a lot more learning to do. We still got a lot more grafting in to do. We're still repenting and we're still converting. I don't care how many times you bring it out, how many lessons you've done, how many times you abstain from this, that, and the third. We're still converting to the Most High. So he said, be not high-minded, right? Because if the Most High ain't sparing the natural branches, he ain't sparing you neither. Look at Moses. He couldn't even get into the promised land. And he gave you the Torah. And he gave you the law. Right? Verse 22.
Verse 22.
Uh-huh.
Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of the Most High. On them which fell, severity, but toward thee, goodness, if thou continue in his goodness. Otherwise, thou shalt also be cut off.
You're going to be cut off too, right? Cockiness, having that high-minded spirit, you're going to be kicked out this truth. Right? You're going to be done. That's what Paul is saying right here. He said to take heed, meaning to listen and to pay attention in verse 21, right? Then it says, some of them fell. Let me just read it again. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fell. And the point that I want to make is, do we have that same spirit that the older brother had in the prodigal son analogy? Right? When we out there teaching, when we out there bringing it out, when you at the gas station, at the bank, at the grocery store, and that person in front of you is getting pork, are we turning our nose up? Oh man, this dude in front of me, he going the hell off. Hey, the hell with him. Or are we having the spirit of, let me help this brother if I get a chance? And that's how we teach more appropriately. Right? Look, 2/3 don't know this information. Baruch 4:4, O Israel, happy are we, for the things that are pleasing to God are made known to us. Okay? We got to get the spirit of that older brother out of us and be happy Be happy when you see new camps coming around. Be happy when you see a new brother or a new sister coming in this truth. That means we are that much closer to our redemption. Okay? Let's get verse 23. We almost done. We're gonna wrap this up real quick. I promise. Let's get Romans 11 and 23.
Verse 23. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for the Most High is able to graft them in again.
To graft them in when? Again. What are we talking about? Where do we get this idea that Romans 11 is talking about the other nations? Right? Look, the Most High is able to graft you in whether you believe or not, because it's by election. That's what Paul is saying. You don't get to choose whether you want to be in this truth or not. Well, let me rephrase that. You don't get to choose whether you want to be obedient to this truth or not. You can get it, and then you can get out in a year. You can get out in 6 months. You can hear it. This is what the parable in Mark 4 is about. People hearing it, and then they get it, they take root, and then some don't. That's right. The brother said you can't be grafted in as something that you were never a part of. The understanding is that the Northern Kingdom and some of you Hellenized Jews were going to be grafted, and even the ones who didn't believe in Christ. Matter of fact, let's just put it on the table. All 12 tribes needed to be grafted back in. You had Northern Kingdom, right? That just didn't know Christ, didn't know God. You had Southern Kingdom that were Hellenized. They either knew that they were Israelites and they just forsook it, or they didn't know, however you want to slice it and dice it. And then you had Southern Kingdom Israelites that didn't believe in the Messiah. And they even had to be grafted back in. Okay? So all these things is prevalent to us, like the brother said. You can't be grafted into something you were never a part of. Romans 11:23.
Verse 23. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for the Most High is able to graft them in again.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 24. For if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into?
So, be grafted into. Hold on 1 second. Got a guess coming. Okay, maybe not. All right, I thought somebody was coming in the room. All right, but so exactly, right? So let's think about this, right? Read 24 again.
Verse 24. For if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree?
And that wild olive tree, right, is really a tree without any order, right? If you just let an olive tree just grow without having order or without having some sort of decorum around that tree, when is it time to reap the harvest, right? When is it time to? Sometimes you got to cut things. Sometimes you got to curate it. Sometimes you got to make sure that it's where it needs to be doing. You got to cut some of the branches off so it can grow even better, right? It's the same deal. So these wild olive trees don't have any gardener, doesn't have a governor to take care of it. That's what makes it wild. It says, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches be grafted into their own olive tree? Read verse 25.
Verse 25.
Mm-hmm.
For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened unto Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
Come on.
Verse 26.
Uh-huh.
And so all Israel shall be saved.
Read that again.
And so all Israel shall be saved.
What are we talking about?
And
Why
so
do we get
all
the
Israel
idea?
shall be saved.
But wait, real quick. Why do we get the idea that Romans 11 and 11, 12 and 13 is about other nations when Paul is going further into detail and all we got was prodigal sons and analogies about olive trees? And we can go to Jeremiah, we can go to Isaiah, we can go to Ezekiel and see these being fulfilled or not being fulfilled, being prophesied in the major prophets. And then he says in verse 26, all Israel shall be saved. We can close the book up right here and say that Romans 11 about grafting in, we can conclude without a shadow of a doubt, concrete evidence that those Gentiles is talking about are the Israelites that lost their identity, lost their nationality, lost their heritage because of idolatry, because of wickedness from the forefathers. It's no different than today. You wasn't born knowing that you were an Israelite. You have to be grafted in. It says all Israel shall be saved. Come on.
Come, as it is written, there shall come out of Sion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob.
From who?
From Jacob.
From Jacob. That's Israelites. Come on.
Verse 27. For this is my covenant unto them.
And the them is the Israelites. And I don't see other nations here. I see Israelites. Come on.
When I shall take away their sins.
You see that? So the Most High only sent his son Christ, YAHAWAH'S, to die for the nation of Israel. That's what it means to be grafted in. Okay. We're going to end it with that. All right. With that, all right. I just definitely want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh B'Shem YAHAWAH'S. Hey, look, at the end of the day, hopefully this was edifying. All right. Hopefully this was able to shed some light. I know sometimes we don't get to see a lot of this when we're on the streets because a lot of times these Christians just don't know a lot. All they know is John 3:16 and Galatians 3 and X, Y, and Z, some of these other scriptures. But somebody may come with this Romans 11. For the most part, we were able to showcase through context, through precepts, through prophecy, through eschatology, which is the end times, that the grafting in is for the Israelites. And with that, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. All right, let's see where we at. I think the brother had a question. All right, let me just post that real quick. He says, "Hey brothers." Well, before we even get to the lesson, I mean the question. Is anybody, Shalak, Aniel, Officer Yashawan, y'all want to add anything to what we just brought out?
Nah, Salaki. I just want to say powerful lesson, King. And all praise to the Most High.
Like, I know I ain't got nothing cut.
Come. Hey, all praises. The water for y'all brothers hopping on. I know we had a couple brothers that's on the road going to Tampa for that mighty Israelite summit that's coming up in Tampa. All right. Shalom to y'all brothers if y'all listening in. All right. So we can open up for some questions if possible. All right, I'm going to post a brother scripture on here. I mean, the brother's question on here. He said, "Hey, brothers, when we are done with this lesson, can I ask how do I get my Hebrew name now that we are coming back to our heritage?" That's a very, very good question. All right. Real quick, I want to get a quick scripture real quick. I want to get Psalms 135, verse number let's see, verse number 12. It says, and gave their land for inheritance unto Israel his people. Thy name, O Lord, endureth forever, and thy memorial, O Lord, throughout all generations. All right, so again, understand that the heritage is it's a good thing, right? Jeremiah 17:4 says, you're gonna lose your heritage, you're gonna lose your identity, right? And of course, that's our name, but it's also our land as well. So our heritage is synonymous with our land and our name and the customs, our God, all that comes with it. That's why it's important for us to understand the culture of our people because the land is very important, right? The land is very important when it comes to us being a people. All right. When we're in our land and when we are doing what we're supposed to do, hey, we golden. Everything is Tawab, everything is good. But of course, once you go to hell off, what happens? You lose your name, but you also lose your land. So the brother Lewis had a question, right? How do I get my name? Brother, I would say, it's best to get with a body first. All right. I don't know where you're located. If you're in the North Carolina area, definitely, reach out to us. We definitely want to try the spirit and invite you out to camp, invite you out to more lessons. But yeah, I don't know where you're located, but if you're in a if you're able to get to a body, what I mean by a body, if you're able to get to a camp or if you're able to, congregate with some brothers, I would get with the elder or whoever is spearheading that congregation and talk to him about it and see if something like that can come about. In the grand scheme of things, you can. I would just. I don't know how long you've been in this truth, but there's a lot of factors that I would say goes into it. I know brothers can probably give their testimony on how. He says we are trying to find something closest to us. Con, all praises, all praises. Um, Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, far from any camps. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean that something like that, it'll come about. Just just stay diligent. Just stay diligent in this truth. All right, stay diligent in doing what you're supposed to do. That's a really good question. I would say that's something that, if you the Most High, just pray on it, fast on it. I always want to ask the Most High on that to send you guys a body, send you guys some elders. I mean, you're more than welcome to, partake with us online. I know sometimes our elders aren't really online like that, but um, just continue to pray and fast and meditate that the Most High give you guys some spiritual guidance, some spiritual leadership. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, this is a good comment right here from the brother Daniel Allah. He been on fire the whole night. Shalom King. It says, I just took my name, Daniel, which came from Hebrew, and spelled it in the Hebrew way. But Yahweh Shai going to give us a new name in the kingdom, right? And that's heavy, right? We're going to have a new name. As a matter of fact, I want to bring this out real quick. Isaiah 52 and number 6, I believe. Let me double check. Isaiah 52 and 8, right? It says, thy watchmen shall lift up the voice with the voice together shall they sing. Now the watchmen is us, right? The folks that are out here that's teaching this word, doing the work of the Lord, doing what we have to do to seal the elect, right? To help seal the elect. It says, together shall they sing, for they shall see eye to eye when the Lord shall bring again Zion. So when we get this kingdom reestablished, right, the Most High is going to give us the same understanding. Yahweh Shai is going to give us the same understanding. All right, we're going to have the same, um, uh, what you would say is the same breakdowns. We're going to be in the new covenant. All these things are going to really take place, and then we'll be able to have what's necessary for us to continue to help teach the people that's still coming in, right? So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, that's a good point, brother Danya Allah. And I believe Danya Allah is the door to the Most High, right? The Da is the door, and of course Allah or is God or Elohim or power. So the door to the power, or the door to the Most High, or access to the Most High. Let me just say it clean like that. Access to the Most High. Let me know if I got that right. I don't want to butcher the name, King. All right. This is a good one. All right, this is a good one. We'll yeah, no, we love the questions. I posted up. It says, is it okay if you can teach a lesson of the true meaning in speaking in tongues, because these Christians like to speak gibberish and say it's the power of the Holy Spirit. And I know that's a lie. All right. Okay, Khan, and the brother Daniela said God's judge. All right, Dan meaning judge. Okay, Khan. Yeah, that's something to look into. But to get to Lewis's question, I think Yashawan said he's gonna do a lesson on that next week. So so but yeah, we can definitely go into that. In a nutshell,
Dang.
um yeah, I know you was gonna say something. But
But
to answer Lewis's question, to go into that, right, in a nutshell, speaking in tongues isn't like saying a whole bunch of gibberish like we've been told in the Christian church, or what we witnessed in the Christian church. And mostly when you go into the apostolic denomination, or when you go into what's that one? Oh shoot, what is that? It's a denomination called it's off the tip of my tongue. Yahshua, remember that sister we met over at Shaw? And she said she was her denomination was, this is off the top of my head. It's in Acts 2. Let me see real quick.
Pentecostal.
Pentecostal. Pentecostal. When you go into, there you go, the Water King. When you go into the Pentecostal denomination, they do a lot of that speaking in tongues as well.
Hey, so
Yeah, go ahead, King.
no, it's a lot. Now I was gonna bring out that precept in Acts 2 just to get a brother a quick answer. I mean, we can still do a lesson on it, but I just wanted to bring this out just to give him a quick answer.
See, I told you, Yahshua want to teach the lesson on speaking in tongues. That's the spirit. Go ahead, King. You got it.
Come. So I'm gonna go to Acts 2 and I'm gonna start at verse 1 just to get the context. It says, and when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And I'm gonna jump to verse 4. It says, and they were all filled with the Holy Ghost and began to speak with other tongues. So like the brother was asking in the question, when we all grew up in church, when somebody say they speaking in tongues, they just be saying a whole bunch of gibberish, right? But it says, as the Spirit gave them utterance, and they were dwelling at Jerusalem, Jews. So that goes to show you that the people that this talking about were the Israelites, the Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now when this noise, Salaki, now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. So that's just showing you that when it says speaking in tongues, that's just going into another language. Because you had Jews that came from different lands, so a lot of them spoke in a different language. Like you had Jews that spoke in the Greek and Latin. right? You had them speaking in different languages. But that was it on that.
Con. And we got a brother on stage, Shalak, who if you really want to break this speaking in tongues down, if you ever hear the brother teach, he does a really good job going from Spanish to English, depending on the audience, right? So a couple times we'll be out there on Glenwood or wherever we're at, and we're teaching, and if it's a Spanish speaking brother or sister, the brother is able on a dime, right? Is really talented to switch over to Spanish and still be in the same context and still have the same flow as he's teaching. And what that does is it's a couple things. It shows our Latino brothers and sisters that they also qualify and they quantify for this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. It's not just a black person culture, right? When we're able to speak in tongues, he's able to convey the message to Zebulun, Issachar, Naphtali, Ephraim, so forth and so forth. And even when you really want to get minute or break it down, there's different types of Spanish that the brother's able to go into. Now, what that does is, like I said, it includes our Northern Kingdom family, right? But then it also, if I'm teaching, right, I can't speak Spanish, right? I can maybe get a word or two out, but I'm not fluent. So if I'm speaking to someone that is a fluent Spanish speaker, then what we do is we have an interpreter, and Shalak is that interpreter. He's like our designated Spanish speaking interpreter. And he's able to convey that message. And when that message is conveyed, now it becomes a conversation between myself and the recipient through that Spanish speaker. And then that allows that message to get across, because ultimately we want to get the gospel to all our people. And that's the beauty of speaking in tongues. I'm going to end with that.
Hey, Salakia, that's the spirit, because that go to show you it ain't nothing new under the sun. Because we going through the same thing they went through in Acts chapter 2. Because even in today's world, you got Israelites that scattered to the four corners of the earth that speak different languages. Like you got Israelites in America that speak English. You got Israelites from Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and Mexico that speak Spanish. You got Israelites that's in Brazil that speak Portuguese. Right? You got Israelites in Haiti that speak Creole.
Right.
Right.
Right. And let's just also simplify it even more, right? If I'm talking to a hood brother, sometimes you got to be able to level down or level to that brother's conversation as well. You can't speak like Carlton Banks to somebody that's, got from a different side of the tracks, if you get what I'm saying. Right? Like Paul used to say things like that, right? Where he's able to speak to his audience. And so I know we're talking about English, but sometimes, hey, English is different depending on who you're talking to. It's all about relatability, right? Am I relatable to the person? But if you got one way of teaching and you're not bending for nobody, then it's going to be harder to reach that person. You got to be able to be fluid with your audience. And so when we speaking in tongues, we're speaking in languages, but we're not, speaking. What you see in those churches is all demonic, right? No one knows what they're saying. It's all demonic. That's all another deity that we're talking about. And if you notice, they all got the same look. Their eyes start rolling back. They start foaming at the mouth. They gyrating. You got women in the churches, with barely any clothes on. They start dancing, jumping through the churches, right? And it's all a show. It's all a show. It's to get likes and stuff or whatnot. I don't know. It's weird to me, but yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. Brother Lewis. Hopefully that makes sense. All praises. All praise. So the brother said he's from the tribe of Ephraim. And his red, shout out to his red, she's from Simeon. Right, right. Going home with bruises from church. Yeah, like the brother Daniel Allah said, like the golden calf, shucking and jiving. Hey, like Officer Yashawan said, man, there's no new thing under the sun. The same way that we acting now, they was doing that same silliness back then, man. And it's all good. That's why we got to come out here and give the sense. All right. All right. So with that, I guess that is all we got for tonight. Again, so we want to recap before we close it on out, right? Again, we went into the understanding of what it means to be grafted in. All right. Again, when as our people start to learn more about this Bible, understand, I want to start off again. Understand that book, chapter, and verse was never in the original scrolls, was never in the original text. These things came later to help readers identify key points easier. So the grafting in from Romans 11 and 11 really starts off at Romans 8, right? The subject matter starts off in Romans 8, all right? Nowhere from Romans 8 to Romans 11 do you see the subject go to another nation. It always stays with Israel. Always, always stays with Israel. And then, of course, we gave precepts, we gave prophecy, we gave pretty much everything that's required. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 witnesses. All right. So that's all I got. Most High willing. If anybody got anything to say, go ahead and bring it out. But with that, we getting ready to shut it down. I'm gonna give it another minute, and then we'll go ahead and close it on out.
I want to say, mighty lesson, Cap. All praise to Yahweh.
Time the water. All praise to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh, Shah, the water king. All right. Well, with that, we want to give all praises. Again, this is YAHAWAH'S camp. All right. Raleigh, North Carolina. We got a YAHAWAH'S camp, DC. Again, be on the lookout for the next new moon, February 11th. All right. And then, of course, this weekend, we got the Israelite Summit. All right. So please check your YouTubes for any live lessons or live videos on that. All right, a lot of good stuff is going to be coming out this weekend. And hey, with that, man, we want to give all praises, glory, and honor. Stay in this faith, Israel. All right, stay in this faith. Stay in this faith. All right. Again, I want to bring it out. I want to close it out with this one, Baruch 4:4. Again, O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to God are made known unto us. I'm the Captain Ra'am. All right, I give you all praise. I give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. With that, we say Shalom.
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 Shalom.